I think he's finally asleep, Rory stated as she looked out the window. Not for long, he'll wake up in a little bit, my mom told me. Rory sighed as they continued driving back to Colorado, the state she used to live in. She loved living there, but then her dad had to get a new job, and they had to move to New York City. To her surprise, he got a new job, and they got to move back to Colorado. But many years later, in the car, my mom, dad, and my little brother, Johnny, were all excited to be coming back to Colorado, but she wasn't happy to see her rival, Ross. Can I go to another school in Denver besides Bragg? Rory begged. But honey, all of your friends are still in Bragg, Mom replied. I can make new friends, Rory stated. What's so bad about Bragg? Dad asked Rory. Because of Ross, Rory said. Ross? Johnny questioned. Yes, I hate him, Rory stated. What did he do to you? Johnny asked. Let me tell you the story, Rory started. We already know the whole story. You've told us many times before, Dad declared. Fine, Rory complained. Besides, it's getting old, Mom answered. I know it's silly, but he's so annoying, and he did something very stupid that makes me hate him. Just go back to sleep, and we will wake you up when we get to the house. Eventually, Rory fell asleep whilst thinking about her dislike for Ross. 5 hours later. Honey, wake up, we're back in Colorado, Mom whispered while waking up Johnny. Are we finally here? Johnny questioned. Yes, now grab your boxes and place them in the living room. It was Halloween night, so there were many kids running around in costumes ready to trick-or-treat. An 8th grader in a costume shuffled over to Rory. Hey, do you need some help? The 8th grader asked. That would be lovely, Rory replied, thanking the teenager. The boy picked up lots of boxes and carried them into the house. Who are you? The dad asked the boy. Oh, I live right across from you guys. That's nice, but what's your name? Dad wondered. Today, my name is Darth Vader, the 8th grader replied proudly. Rory's dad looked confused, but then decided not to worry and continued carrying boxes. Rory was curious of who the fellow 8th grader might be. A cold wind swept through the streets on Halloween night. Who is that boy, Rory? Mom questioned. I haven't the slightest clue. Johnny brought his books in and laid them on the counter. Rory and the teenager went outside to get the rest of the boxes out of the moving van, while candy flew out of someone's bucket and hit Rory in the face. Ow, what was that? Rory yelled in pain. That was a flying jawbreaker, the 8th grader replied. Here, use this, the 8th grader said, taking off his helmet and had an ice pack underneath his helmet. Rory placed the ice pack on her face, then she realized something. Wait a minute, what's your name? My name is Ross Lynch. What's your name? My name is Rory Miller, Rory replied. Ross realized who she was and decided to run off to save him the trouble. Honey, why are you back so early? Ross's mom asked him. She's back, Ross yells out. Who's back? Ross's mom asked. Rory Miller's back, my rival, Ross exclaimed. Oh, Ross's mom sighed. Ross ran up to his room and slammed the door so he could have some time to himself. Why is she back? I can't believe I just helped my rival. I can't believe she's back after all this time. We hated each other. Why does she have to be back now? There's no way I can be her friend. Ross was panicking at the fact that the person he hated more than anyone was his neighbor. There was a knock on the door. Ross, you left this, Rory said, knocking on his door. Rory handed Ross his helmet, then he left her house last night. He took it with a shaking hand. Rory went to her brand new room and started designing it. I hate him so much, she thought. Hours passed, and Ross stayed up late, wondering where it all went wrong. Next day. They both went to school that day, and it was Rory's first day back. In the morning, the principal called Ross down to the office to talk to him. There's a new student today, and I would like for you to introduce her to the school, the principal demanded. I can't do that. I hate her, Ross thought. Yes, sir, Ross said. Then Rory walked into the office, and the principal introduced them, even though they already knew each other. Rory, this is Ross. He's going to show you around the school and introduce you to the school at the assembly in a few minutes. Him? Her? Could you get someone else like Jade Smalls? Does Ella still go here? I was her best friend, Rory questioned. Yes, Ella Watterson still goes here, Principal Thompson responded. Rory was at least happy for that, and she recalls that she saw a couple of her 5th grade friends like Riley, Thomas, and Haley. Follow me, I'll show you around, Ross insisted. Do I have to? Yes, you do. Now stop complaining and follow him, the principal demanded. Rory sighed while she started to follow Ross around the school. Let's get this over with, Ross whispered as he walked out. Rory followed Ross and began the tour. Rory was annoyed, and so was Ross, as they didn't both know they really hate this. So this is your locker number 25, Ross told Rory. Rory grabbed her combination and unlocked her new locker and put her charger and her phone in it. Ross and Rory continued the tour, and the tour started to become awkward. You can at least say something, or did you go mute the moment you saw me? Ross insisted. Can we continue the tour, please? Okay, then, Ross sighed. Ross then asked Rory for her schedule, and he showed her the different classes she had to go to every day. The fourth bell rang. It was time for lunch. Okay, see you at lunch, Ross said while walking away. Hold up, Rory called out to Ross. What? I don't know where the lunchroom is. Can you tell me where it is? It's down the hall to the left. It has 2 big doors and a sign that says cafeteria above it. Ross pointed down the hall at 2 big double doors. Rory marched toward the lunchroom and didn't look back. What's up, Ross? Cody asked. Nothing. What's up with you? Ross said nervously. Cody has been Ross's best friend since pre-K, and they did everything together. Principal Thompson made me give the new girl a tour, Ross sighed. Isn't her name Alice or something like that? Nope, it's Rory Miller. Remember her? She hates me. She's back? Cody said shockingly. Didn't used to like... Ross put his hand over Cody's mouth. We don't talk about that in public. Someone might hear you. Oh, sorry. Ross nodded and removed his hand from Cody's mouth. Are you available in 4th period, our study hall class? We can walk to the choir room and practice our presentation, Cody asked, because he had to walk Rory to the choir room. Cody asked Ross if he could walk with them. Ross nodded, and they entered the lunchroom. Meanwhile, Rory was trying to find her old friends in the crowd of kids. Rory was searching over the cafeteria for her friends. She found one table, and she spotted Ella with Thomas, Riley, and Haley. Rory found her best friends. Her eyes sparked and shone as she walked over to them. Hey guys, I'm back. Who are you? Thomas asked, disgusted. It's me, Rory. We used to be best friends before I left in 5th grade. Hey, weren't you that one girl that always smelled terribly? Haley asked. No, I wasn't the smelly girl, Rory said. Yeah, I remember one time I had to put plugs in my nose to keep myself from throwing up, Ella said while laughing. Thomas, Haley, and Riley laughed as well. Rory was almost tearing up. You guys are so mean. What happened? Rory asked. We grew up, unlike you, nerd. Ross saw what was going on and decided to defend Rory. Follow me, Cody, Ross said, walking to what was now a circle of kids gathering around Rory and her group. Cody nodded and followed. Ross stepped into the circle. Why are you guys bullying her? It was her first day back, and she doesn't need jerks like you wannabes who would want to be like her, so leave her alone, Ross yelled. Mr. Lovebird is standing up for his girlfriend, Thomas said while making kissing noises. She's not my girlfriend, and I don't like her. Tell that to the 5th grade teachers, Alice said. Hey, what's going on here? The dean asked. Those 4 sitting down were being mean to the new girl, and Ross stood up for her. Thanks for telling the truth. You 4 in my office, now. Their cheerful expressions quickly turned to terrified faces. The circle of students went back to their seats. Rory smiled at Ross. Why are you smiling at me? You stood up for me. Thank you. Rory smiled and hugged Ross. Then Ross's face instantly turned bright red. You're very welcome. So I was wondering if you wanted to be my first friend, since all my friends are mean now, and I don't want to hang out with them, Rory asked Ross. Later at home, Rory ran in her house as fast as she could, yelling she has a friend now. Honey, why are you screaming? Mom asked. I made a friend. Woohoo! Who is it? Ross? Ross? Yep. I thought you hated him. I did, but he stood up for me, and now we're friends. Well, isn't that sweet? Wait, what do you mean? I mean, it's really nice. What are you talking about? You're in 8th grade. You figure it out yourself. What's that supposed to mean? Never mind. You'll figure it out eventually. Next week. Mom, Rory asked if I could hang out after school today. Can I go? Ross asked. Of course, honey. As long as you don't get any trouble. Thanks. See you later. I love you. Later at school. Hey, Ross. Hey, Rory. What are you doing? So my mom said that we can hang out after school today. I can't wait. Yeah, me neither. I'll call you when I get there. I'll bring the lemonade and cookies. Will you bring the sandwiches? Yeah, sure, I can do that. Later at the picnic. Hey, Ross, this picnic is going to be super fun, Rory exclaimed. Hey, Rory, let me help you with the sandwiches. Thanks, bud. So what do you want to do first? Ross asked. We can eat, silly. Oh, yeah, I forgot, Ross said nervously. Ross and Rory started snacking on Rory's sandwiches. While eating, Ross took out his phone and started taking photos of them. Rory then quickly grabbed Ross's phone out of his hand and started running around in circles, keeping it away from Ross. Then she slipped in the mud, and as she was falling, she grabbed Ross's hand and pulled him into the mud with her. They began laughing hysterically while rolling around in the mud. Then Ross got a call from his mom saying it was time to leave, and she was waiting in the parking lot. Can I just come home with you? I mean, I only live right across from you, Rory asked. Of course you can. Come on. Rory and Ross then raced to Ross's mom's car. Eventually, Rory won and taunted him for being slow. It was a loud and energetic car ride home. You could come eat dinner with us if you wanted to, Ross's mom offered. I would love to. Thank you, Mrs. Lynch. You're so very welcome, Mrs. Lynch replied. Ross's family and Rory had a wonderful dinner. They ordered pizza and devoured it almost instantly. Over the next few days, they started hanging out after school every day. Thanksgiving week. Hey, so my family is having Thanksgiving at my house. Do you want to come over and have Thanksgiving with us? Rory asked. I would love to have Thanksgiving with you, Ross replied. What food do you think you could bring? I think I could bring the pumpkin pie if that's okay with you. Of course that's okay with me. Can you bring the whipped cream? Sure. Thanksgiving Day. Ross started walking over to Rory's house holding the pumpkin pie with whipped cream. He knocked on the door and somebody opened the door to greet him. As soon as he walked through the door, he tripped and fell. The pumpkin pie smashed into his face and he got covered in whipped cream and pumpkin pie. Everyone at Rory's Thanksgiving party whipped their heads around and stared at Ross. Rory quickly ran to Ross's side to help him get back up. His face was bright red with embarrassment as he nervously said hi to everyone. He quickly walked to the bathroom so he could wash his face off. I can't believe I just did that, Ross said in shame. A few minutes later, he walked out of the bathroom with all of the whipped cream and pumpkin pie washed off. He walked around and shook everyone's hand. Sadly, he had to throw away the rest of the pumpkin pie because it had his face print in it. About an hour later, everyone sat around the table and said what they were thankful for. It's your turn, Ross, Mrs. Miller said. I'm thankful for my family, my friends, and of course, my favorite friend, Rory. I'm thankful for my favorite friend, too, Rory exclaimed. When's the wedding? Uncle Ryan yelled across the table. Oh my gosh, guys, stop being so silly, Rory yelled back. They all sat around the table and finished eating while laughing and telling stories. After he finished eating, Ross walked home with a big smile on his face. As soon as he walked into his house, he yelled in excitement. A week later. Are you ready for the first day back from Thanksgiving break? Rory asked. I think I can make it through the day, Ross replied. If you say so, Rory said. They both walked into their first period class and talked about going to the roller skating rink the next day after school. I would love to go skating, but I don't know how, Rory said. That's fine. I can teach you, Ross offered. Rory agreed and became suspenseful for the next day. At the roller skating rink. At the rink, Ross bought both of their rollerblades and some pizza. They put on rollerblades and went into the rink. Rory grabbed Ross's shoulder and used him for support. He skated away and taunted her. She tried to catch up, but she fell. He skated over to her and helped her up. Then he taught her how to stay stable while roller skating. After about an hour, she learned how to stay up without falling. Then came the hard part, skating. It took her 2 hours after that to learn how to properly skate fast. Almost as soon as she learned how to skate, her mom called her and told her she was outside. Bye, Ross. I had fun tonight. Bye, Rory. Next month. The next day, Ross was feeling very nervous because he was going to ask Rory to the dance as best friends. Hey, Ross. Hey, Rory. So I was thinking, you know this dance this Friday? Yeah, Rory replied. So do you think you want to go to it with me as best friends? The end.